Republican Congressman Mike Lawler, who sits on the Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, good to have you on. Do you believe this foreign aid bill will pass in the next few days? And if so, do you think Speaker Johnson will be Speaker for much longer?
Yes, the foreign aid bill will pass. It must pass. The United States has an obligation as leader of the free world to support our allies at this most critical juncture and to make it clear to our adversaries that we will not tolerate their actions and what they have done to undermine and destabilize the free world. This is not about partisan politics. This is about the future of the world and America's role in it. And I think we have to focus on the task at hand. Obviously, I understand the frustration of some of my colleagues. I agree about the need for border security. It's why I have voted for H.R. 2 last year. It's why I voted for a continuing resolution that had H.R. 2, which I would remind folks, many of the people complaining right now voted against that continuing resolution prior to vacating Speaker McCarthy. So, some of these folks have nobody to blame but themselves for why Speaker Johnson's hand in negotiations has been weakened. It's their actions that have done that. I look at this very simply. In October, the House was thrown into chaos by Matt Gaetz and 7 useful idiots that teamed up with him within the Republican conference, and 208 Democrats. At this moment, when you see what happened in the aftermath of vacating the chair and Israel attacked in a terrorist attack a week later, to do that again would be detrimental to the country and global security. And I think Democrats who are seemingly trying to hold out for some negotiation really should look at this from the standpoint of the institution, especially when we talk about protecting democracies. Yeah. Let's start with our own. Undermining the institution, no matter how much it may politically advantage one party, is destructive. And so I think it's incumbent on everybody, Republicans and Democrats, to say we're not going to do this again.
Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene posted saying, quote, "The real damage happening to our conference and our country is that our elected Republican speaker is supporting Biden and the Democrats' agenda, not fighting for our Republican agenda. Stop making excuses and blaming others." I know, Republicans don't like to give her oxygen, but are you, and the GOP conference at large, are you fed up with her?
Look, this is the agenda of Ronald Reagan, peace through strength. America has a role in the world to play, and it is to lead the free world. It is to support democracies around the globe, and it is to take on those that would seek to undermine and destabilize the free world. China, Russia, and Iran are not our friends. They're not our allies, and they are doing everything they can to destabilize the globe. When you look at Iran, Iran is the greatest state sponsor of terror. They fund Hamas, 93% of their budget. You know where they get the money, Anderson? China. China purchases Iranian petroleum. 80% of Iran's oil sales are purchased by China. $88 billion in increased revenue since Joe Biden took office. My bill, the SHIP Act, and the Iran-China Energy Sanctions Act are in this supplemental. Because both of them are going to target Iranian petroleum, which is funding terrorism. So when people say this is Joe Biden's agenda, no, this is holding the Biden administration accountable because they have allowed increased Iranian oil sales, which is funding terrorism in the Middle East.
Why is it so many on the far right seem to be fine with Vladimir Putin winning in Ukraine, or at least not wanting any involvement by the U.S. in terms of sending funds?
Look, a lot of people have legitimate concerns about the path forward in Ukraine, and we have asked the administration time and again for answers on how they are going to define success in Ukraine, what is the end game in Ukraine, and how we are going to prevent Vladimir Putin from doing this on a continuing basis. And then there are some people who have bought into some of the propaganda coming out of Russia. They say, oh, Ukraine is corrupt. Well, no kidding. when you have Russian influence in Ukraine, in Moldova, in some of these former Soviet satellite countries for 30 years in the aftermath of the fall of the Soviet Union, yes, there's going to be corruption. But our job as the United States is to help lead the free world and get our allies to a place where they are more in line with Western Europe than Russia. And to allow Ukraine to fall will mean that Moldova and other countries in Eastern Europe will fall with it.
Yeah.
And that is not good for the United States. That is not good for the world. When you, as I said repeatedly, you have a relationship, an unholy alliance between China, Russia, and Iran. I think everyone agrees China is a threat. I think everyone agrees Iran is a threat. Russia is a threat. They are engaged in this alliance, and the United States must stand firm and resolute in this moment. As I've said many times, this is not a moment to be Neville Chamberlain. This is a moment to be Winston Churchill. And that is the objective from my vantage point. That is why it is so critical that we do the right thing. The Speaker is doing the right thing in this moment, Anderson. And it is incumbent on the institution, Republicans and Democrats, to rally behind him and make sure that we get this bill across the finish line.
Congressman Mike Lawler, thank you. Appreciate it.